Good afternoon and welcome to the Small Business Cheerleader podcast. I'm Nicola Willis from NW Marketing and I'm joined today by the lovely Elle from Elle Enchanted Entertainment. And we are here to talk about authenticity in business and how to be yourself in business and what that can look like. So Elle, tell me about Elle Enchanted Entertainment and how you got started.
All right. Well, Elle Enchanted Entertainment is all about children and family fairy tale entertainment. So we provide entertainment for birthday parties and celebrations to now crossing over into the corporate world. And it's anything from princess fairy tale character meet and greets, but we really specifically specialize in musical and live performances.
Yeah, it's amazing. And if you've ever been, or you should go to Elle's Instagram page, you will then have a really great overview of what you do, because your Instagram is amazing and it does showcase what Elle Enchanted Entertainment is all about. And I think that is something that has a story in it, as a story as to why you're so drawn to providing that fairy tale world in children's entertainment, but also how that aligns to your bigger values and how it becomes authentically you. And that's what I think we're here to talk about today. I want to talk about, how do you be authentically yourself in business? How do you work through that when you're putting together your packages, what you put online, and what means most to you? How do you become authentically you in your business?
Yeah, well, I think I learned how to become authentic because when I started out, I wasn't. I had a misconception that people would accept me as the performer because I'm bubbly and I'm fun and a goober. And I was like, but they're not going to take that seriously as the face of a business. They're not going to believe it. But I really realized that was my own insecurities. And as a result, there was a massive disconnect with what I was presenting and showing up as, because essentially I wasn't really showing up as the face of my business at all. I was like, this is going to work better if people think it's run by a mysterious grown-up who drinks coffee and is serious. All of the things which I am not. And it was from doing a lot of soul searching, but then a lot of research in business and the work that we did together as well, where it was like, oh, I need to get over this fear of showing up as myself and take that leap of faith that people are going to want to hear my story. And it was then completely transforming once I did start showing up as myself and then telling my story. And then that totally feeds into, I love fairy tales, I love stories, I consider myself a storyteller, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, people actually want to hear my story.
And that's exactly right. And like I tell people the most is that the journey is what people are interested in. People love people's stories and people love to follow somebody's journey, whether it's a growth in a new area of their business or whether it's just them bringing something new to the table. And that's the thing. We have these preconceived ideas or these rules that we think we should follow. And when it comes to being yourself authentically, it can never be wrong because it's who you are. It's when you start trying to be somebody that you're not, and either people see you in real life and they think, well, that's not what she's like online, or the opposite, you are what you are online, but you think you have to be someone else. And that pressure is huge to follow rules and be someone. So I think that's what I know you and I worked on just finding, core values and what it is that you can attract aligned people, because aligned clients are what you want. They get you, they understand you, they want to go along on that journey with you, and they'll become raving fans. And I think, who doesn't want that in their business? But it takes the work in finding out who that is and the trust to be yourself online and know that, but we're all scared of people judging us for who we are and thinking that we're not good enough in whatever way. But if you are yourself, you will find people who are like you and they will be attracted to you. Have you found similar things?
Yes, massively. As I said, there was just such a disconnect. I think because of my performer background, I have a tendency to then be a perfectionist. and make things overly polished. And there's so much heart and soul I've put into my business, but that wasn't coming across because it was too polished and there was too much perfection, that it wasn't connecting with people. Why would you invite them into your home to celebrate with your children and create magic when that heart and soul isn't coming across? And from the work that we did and all the soul searching, yeah, it completely transformed. But I think that was another thing I never thought that would happen in business, because you kind of just think it's all serious business world. Yeah. And then what is an explorative journey on your business actually becomes soul searching and more about yourself, because you have to then discover what are my morals and values and my beliefs, and how is that going to tie into my business? Yeah. And then how am I going to bring that into my brand and have all the work that I do reflect those core values?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it does seem like work, but it's valuable work, because once you've associated, you know, what is this vision? What lights me up? Because your personal vision and values will always transcend into your business, because you are the visionary in your business. You are the person who is giving life and love into your business. So whoever you bring in, whether it's clients or whether it's actually those people who work with you, contractors or staff, everyone needs to be along on that same journey. Otherwise, there will be even more of a disconnect. And I think that as soon as we start to realize that we need to bring in our personal, you know, values and our vision, the more that we talk from a place of truth, and more that people start to understand who we really are and want to know more. Because people buy or use, people they trust, and the only way to find trust is to show up as ourselves, and it can be scary. I mean even I find it hard some days. You don't want to show up because, you know, whatever day you've had or whatever, but I've learned now to just share that. You know, show up and say, oh, look, this week I've done this, that, and that. And people are like, yeah, that is me. I have those days too. Thank goodness it's not just me. And as soon as you realize that, you're like, oh, well, people want to know that they're not alone. And I love that you've been able to bring everything in from everything you've experienced up until now, and that's made you who you are. You can share that with people and then bring them along this new journey as you continue to evolve. So how do you basically stay true to yourself and the brand together? How do you find that?
Yeah, so I think what works, definitely the things that we spoke about together. So knowing your core values and thinking about your bigger vision. But I also found specifically having, they can be called like power words, whatever term you want to use, but I kind of have like 3 words that are my go-to. So whether it's someone I'm going to work with, a particular event, or what I'm posting on my Facebook and Instagram, I'm like, does it align with these words? And if it doesn't, I'm like, no, that's just not going to be the right thing. So it's always tying it back in with that, I think has been really beneficial to staying on point and, you know, using your platform, especially on Instagram, using it in the right way for your brand and what feels right.
Yeah, because it's ultimately going to be a compass, and that's what we say core values are. In your business, they are a North Star or a compass, because we get pulled in so many different directions as business owners and clients that want to come to work with us. And we need to keep a compass of, no, I have a greater vision of where I see my business and with what lights me up. And so if you, like you're saying, your core words, what is it that means the most to me? And those things will be my compass in, does it feel right? Does it feel aligned? Am I working towards where I want to go? Or am I being distracted by shiny things that are taking me away from that vision? Because at that stage, they feel wrong, but you feel like you should be doing them, or otherwise you're doing them out of a state of not desperation, but I really need something now. I'll do this and I'll do that. But what it's doing is taking you further away from where you need to be. And I love that. If it's words, if it's pictures, some people have vision boards. something that can be your compass of where you want to go and what lights you up, so that when you're making these big decisions, you're making them in line with where you want to go. And I think that that's so important. Yeah, so definitely the words and where to go. And when it comes to, so when it comes to business and children's entertainment in particular, because this is your jam and it's what lights you up. So what's important in being yourself when it comes to dealing with children in particular, because you're doing Enchanted Entertainment. So this is fairy tales and lighting kids up and creating imagination. So how do you work all that into being authentically you and part of all that?
Well, I think I've always loved it because it's always come really easy for me. So one time I felt I can always be myself, and it was with grown-ups and parents. I was like, this is where I have to play pretend. I have to be this or that or really serious. And it was realizing that I can just be authentically myself the whole time. I don't have to pretend. But I think the other thing is working with children, you realize really quickly on, days where you're having a bad day or you're not feeling it, if it's not like 100% real, kids know, like there is no fooling children. You need to believe within your heart and soul you are a fairy princess, or they will call you out on it.
Yeah, they have a huge bullshit detector, don't they?
Massively.
And that's why I love it so much, because they don't have a filter. And we're so used to dealing with filters and people just hiding and hiding their emotions. Whereas you're at the coalface every day of pure honesty. So I can see also how that's sort of liberating in a way.
Massively, but then it taught me so much, because what I loved about my work with children when I was with them, like them, I was being silly and free and just being myself 24/7 with them. Of course, then I wasn't, once I, felt I had to be in this other world with business and stuff like that. So they then showed me, like, you can just be yourself all the time.
Yeah. And we love them for that. And I think that's how we're realizing now, especially with social media and things, that we're coming back to that, aren't we? The days of curated, outer facing us is sort of not there anymore, because we see the bullshit a bit like the kids now. So I love that fact that we're starting to see the good, the bad, and the ugly of what it's like to be a business owner, but also of business owners themselves. And we can really then start to identify and align ourselves with who it is we want to be working with, because now you're starting to see and you can say, oh, they get me, or I love that about her or him. And I suppose when it comes to, working with kids and people wanting kids entertainers, they want to know that the people they're working with really do love it, and they really do live for it, because it's their child, it's their birthday, it's their whatever. They want to make sure they're working with the right people. And I love that you show up and you give them all of that information online, and they can easily make a decision.
Yeah, and there really are such precious moments, and you're getting invited into a family's home to celebrate with them, and you get to know this family, and then you sit down with them afterwards and they're giving you birthday cake. I mean, it's such an extraordinary experience. It's not one that you would normally get to have. So to be that close with the families, and so then that's why it was so important that I be more authentic with myself. And from the stories that I've shared online, it's no secret that I didn't have the most ideal childhood or, best relationship with my parents. And I think I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder about that. So while I loved children and wanted the best for them, I had this deep-seated grudge almost, where I was clashing, with parents. And not that it was ever spoken or anything like that, it ever materialized. But I think there's just a lot can be said for your authenticity and how you feel in your heart. And then, like you're saying, the people that attracts. And once I opened up and shared my story, and parents then heard that, it just completely changed the dynamic, changed the relationships I had with the parents, and the conversations I then have when they're booking their entertainment and stuff like that. And it changed how I view parents. you know, they're not all bad guys. Obviously, that's where I'm going to be coming from. And I'm like, oh my goodness, these are beautiful people, beautiful families. They've taught me so much. They've welcomed me into their homes and lives. So it's been an incredibly healing journey as well.
I love that, because again, there's an awesome story, you know, of redemption and finding what lights you up, and growing through the pain, and then being able to come out the other side healed somewhat in your heart. And I mean, isn't that just the best story for them to hear, also for their kids to know that, you know, there is somebody there who just is so passionate about kids and their well-being and their mental health as well, and creating a wonderful environment. I mean, and again, all those line up, and they line up with your words, and they line up with the difference. Because like I tell my clients, is your vision is the difference you want to see in the world. It's something that keeps you going. You're never going to get there 100%. It's what lights you up. So it's like the sunset over a mountain, I say. So that's the thing, you know, what is it that lights you up? Because that's what you're going to talk about. Your heart is going to come out in the content, because you're going to mean it. You're not talking about stuff that you don't really care about just because you think people want to hear it. And you've also, you're exploring different parts now of your business, and you're growing somewhat into corporate, and you now feel confident to open that up, because you know what difference you make, and you know where you can stand out. So what's that been like, that sort of exploring slightly different areas of the business and growing?
It's been exciting. I mean, all this stuff is definitely scary. Anytime you're out of your comfort zone, and it's getting comfortable with the fact that, you know, you might suck at it a little bit the first time, and that's totally okay. But ultimately, it's again, it's been really transforming and really positive. But it's about getting a solid sense of self, because I think if I had tried to go into this area before I was ready, I wouldn't have been prepared, because I didn't really have an idea about my core values and what my story was and what I wanted to be doing. Especially when you start out in business, there's this sense of like, I'll say yes to everything, I'll offer every service available, and you know, you're trying to jump through hoops, and you think that that's the right thing to do, but rather than be really good at your particular set of skills or your niche, you're kind of then mediocre at like a lot of different things.
Yes. And I mean, that's what, I mean, we've all heard the saying, we know the whole thing of, you know, what is it? You try and be everything to everyone and you're nothing to nobody, you know, the old bad English version. And that's what we know. We need to niche. I mean, that's the funky word of the decade, niche. It's overused, we know that, but I like to think of it as what lights you up. You know, what lights you up can be, you can niche down in what it is that lights you up, if that's easier, instead of saying, I'm only going to do this. Just what is it that lights me up? It's this type of thing. Okay, well, how can you do more of that? And who is it that needs more of that? You know, and look out, because your business offering always comes down to, you always need to find your business offering before your ideal client, obviously. So it's about, what is your business offering and what benefits does it have? And how do those benefits apply to those around you and where you can fit them in? Because your corporate is amazing, but you still bring you to that. When I've seen your corporate, it's still you. It's not a different version of you. It's you in that environment. And then it's you in the kids' parties. It's not a different you, it's you, just in those different versions of events. And I think that's, now you've come to that realization, I can be me. And I can bring it to different levels of the entertainment and corporate industry. And I love that. Instead of having to say, no, that's it, I've just got to box myself away, you've opened yourself up to saying, no, I have confidence in who I am and what I can bring to different areas.
Yeah, I think that's what was interesting, is you kind of end up having to say no and get really particular. And then once I got that solid sense of self, then more things actually opened up. So now I'm able to say I provide fairytale entertainment, you know, so it's not just specifically kids, it's family events and things like that. And the music that we do can obviously cross over, because everybody happily listens to Disney classics.
And that's it. And because you have such a presence that I think comes from your heart, it's so hard not to be swept up in it. So if I'm at a corporate event and you're entertaining, you're singing, I mean, you just have an aura about you. Or if you're at a kids' party, there's an aura. So I think people need to say, what is it that I give the energetics to, and where can I provide that level of whatever it is? And once you then say, yeah, I have a sense of who I am and what I provide, where can I use that? And then you start to open yourself up. But like you said, if you'd done that at a time when you were not confident enough in who you really were and felt you had to have a mask when you were talking to people about business sides of things, you wouldn't have been able to be open to what you could provide value for. And I think that's what a lot of business owners get stuck in. They don't quite have that sense of what it is that energetically lights them up and how they can provide that in services.
Yeah, and I think, and I suffered from this and sometimes still do.
Yeah.
You just have such an urgency to want to get to that end point and get everything done. And you really have to sit back and enjoy the journey and the evolution a little bit, and have a little faith as well that you are going to get that fairy tale ending. Yeah. But you just got to go on the story first. You got to go on the adventure.
Yeah, and look, it's no fun if you don't. I mean, if people want to follow you, they want to follow your journey. They want to see the ups and downs. They want to see, you know, how you got to where you got to, and what, you know, I mean, look, we've all had a COVID story, you know, a journey through COVID, a pivot or whatever it is. And I think people have enjoyed, although enjoy is probably the wrong word, watching people navigate that, because they can be inspired, or they could see themselves in other people. And I think that was a real leveler in being able to go along on people's journeys, because you couldn't, no one had the perfect story then. It was how you best survive this thing that's happening to us all. And I think that that's can be said for a lot of our journeys through life, because you're right, it's the journey. It's not the destination. We've got to remember that. We get so caught up in, why am I making 10K months? Why am I doing what everyone else is doing online? Why do I not have this and that and 5 VAs and all these online things? But the problem is, it's the journey. If you can learn, grow, make relationships, you know, join other people's journeys, and then before you know it, you're there. And it hasn't been a struggle, but, you know, I mean, we'd all be lying if we haven't sat there one day, you know, and gone, oh, God, could this just hurry up? Like, I've done enough of the waiting and building and whatever else I've done. But you look back, and I mean, I've been in business, nearly 16 years. And I look back to when I started, I don't even know who she was. You know, back then, I just finished a proper, you know, job, come back off maternity leave and started working for myself. And it's like, and over those times, you look back at everything you've built, bit by bit by bit, into a thing. So the journey, you have to take time for the small wins. And I know you do that now as well, but the small wins, pat yourself on the back and say, good on you for doing whatever was on your list, your journal, whatever it was, the steps. And I've done a thing this week online. It's about the step by step. Tick them off, journal them, do something to give yourself a pat on the back. Otherwise, we're never happy.
Yeah, it's so true. And as I said, I definitely get caught up in that, being a perfectionist. I think, again, because of working with children, it holds me accountable though, because I meet so many little ones, and it reminds me I'm in a position where I'm a role model now for them. And that's why it's really important that I show this beginning journey, as my business is still very small, and that I don't always know what I'm doing, and I'm just taking a chance, and finding other people that I can, you know, connect with as well has been really important, to just have someone who knows what you're going through.
Oh, look, I mean, I found probably 2 years ago, I started with a business coach, and then I joined, we're members of Fusion, of course, the female business group. And I think I couldn't say that enough. If you were a startup, or you're small, or you're in a growth phase, the direction of a coach, being, if you're in growth stage, you're looking at changing levels, the insight into how that works is important. And then just the day-to-day grind of being in a business group online, that where people are at the same level. because you just, I mean, we attend events, of course, and we catch up, and then online you can just put any question you want, and there's about 5-10 women straight away who know or have done it or have been there or know someone who can help you solve it. And to have that relationship, how good is that?
Oh, it's amazing. And again, when I started my business, I was too afraid to even join groups, to get a coach, to speak to anybody, because I had this mindset that thought, that must mean I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a failure. I'm going to suck. No one's going to want to have any business from me because clearly I don't know what I'm doing. And so I really had this idea, like, I've got to pretend I'm perfect. I'm a businesswoman. And as a result, though, you're suffering. And then you kind of connect. I think that was the biggest takeaway, is, you think grown-ups have it figured out. And then I've hung out with grown-ups and I'm like, oh, none of us have it figured out. And we're all learning it in this together, and it's okay.
Yeah, look, and as you say, you're working with kids, and if you can impart even that slightly onto them, just try. You're all in it together, work together and get that thing of ask for help and support. Even if, your characters have that about them, and you can teach them that, gosh, that would just be the best. Because I mean, to have people now feeling alone in a business journey, especially work from home, and especially when you're solopreneurs and you don't have a team, that is hard work. And if you're not making these 10K months and you're seeing everyone online, we tell everyone not to compare or scroll, but we do. Yeah. I do it. Everyone does it. And then you sit there in the scroll-a-thon and you think that you suck, and you think you're never going to get any better. And why are they? And then, you know what I've learned when I'm in a business coaching group and I see those businesses online, and then I see them in the group, no one's kicking goals. Everyone's got imposter syndrome. Everyone's stressed that their next launch or their next service is not going to work. Everyone's scared no one's going to sign up. Of course, we show up and be inspired, but everyone has the same issues. So the quicker we learn that, the quicker we ask for support and lift each other up, the closer and quicker we're going to get to our goals as a collective. And I think, I love that. I love that. And I love that you get to kids and empower them before they can grow into whatever journey it is. And I mean, that is a wonderful place to be, I think.
Oh, massively. And there's so many motivational speakers that I love and have been influenced by, but I didn't come across them until I was an adult, because you're not going to really want to listen to that when you're a child. So one of my biggest goals with Elle Enchanted, and as it evolves and what I want to bring in more, is having the aspects of a motivational speaker, but in a way that children are going to respond to, and it's going to resonate with them, so they can start getting all those tools that they need to be successful adults and have successful businesses or follow their dreams, whatever that may mean, is get it to them in a way that they're going to enjoy and hear, and, through music and things like that.
See, I love that. That just lights my heart up, because I know that it is what drives you. And I'm so glad that you can see that you can bring that out.
Oh, massively. And also just playing music that's appropriate at children's parties. I'm like, oh, I need to start making my own. Because modern day pop songs, I'm like, oh my goodness.
And so I mean, everyone definitely has to check out your Instagram and your IGTVs and all your stuff, because it gives a real insight. Now, let me know, did you cry when the yellow wiggle resigned? Were you sad? Because I've just been reading online today about the yellow wiggle leaving and how she was obviously empowering young girls and stuff and so everyone was really sad. So I love to think that you can be the replacement yellow wiggle for everyone else that needs lifting up in the world.
Oh my goodness, that would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be amazing? So you can have that little replacement in their lives where they need to have a good female role model to lift them up. So if you have young girls, please, go check out Elle stuff online, and or young boys, obviously, any kids parties and things, and any corporate gigs. Now, tell me, where can people find you? I've been speaking up your Instagram, obviously. What's the handle for the Instagram?
So it's Elle Enchanted Entertainment. And it's the same on Facebook as well.
Awesome. And you obviously have a website where people can go and check out all your services as well?
Yes, and that's just www.ellenchanted.com. www.elleenchantedentertainment.com.
Awesome. It's been wonderful talking to you because your story inspires me so much. So I want as many people to get on board and realize that they can take control of where they want to see their businesses going, but they first have to understand, what lights them up, and you've done that massively. So I love that. So yes, it's been a joy, and I'd love to see you as the Yellow Wiggle, but up until then, I think everything you do in the fairy tale scheme is beyond amazing. So I'd love to see as many people jump on that journey with you, even if it's just to follow you online, because I think that that's an amazing story you have to get out there. So it's been a joy to talk to you. And yes, no doubt we'll see you at a next Fusion of Business Women event.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me.
All right, see ya.
All right, bye.